One of the most powerful moves you can make when someone disrespects you, especially a woman you care about, is simply to stop talking. Most guys feel this almost uncontrollable urge to defend themselves, to explain why they don't deserve the disrespect, to argue, to debate, to prove that they're right. And honestly, all that does is drain your power. Every time you over-explain, you're telling her, your approval matters more than my peace. You're putting yourself in the position of the defendant while she sits there as the judge. And let's be honest, if she already disrespected you, you've probably lost that case before it even started. Silence, though silence is different. Silence shows you're not affected by her emotional storm. It's not passive-aggressive. It's not sulking. It's not pouting. It's simply choosing not to react. When you stay calm and collected, you give off this energy that says, I know who I am and I don't need to prove it to anyone. That quiet strength is magnetic. Women are wired to test men to see if they can handle pressure, and when you pass that test by staying grounded, it actually increases her respect for you. Imagine a moment when she says something that really stings. Instead of raising your voice, instead of explaining yourself into exhaustion, you take a deep breath, maybe smile slightly, and let the silence hang in the air. That pause becomes so powerful. It makes her reflect on what she just said. It shows her that her words don't have the power to pull you into chaos, and in that moment, you shift the frame. You're no longer on trial, you're the calm, centered man who refuses to step into an unnecessary fight. This doesn't mean you ignore the situation forever. If something needs to be addressed, you address it later when the emotions have cooled down, when you can speak clearly without anger, without needness. But the first move, the silent move, is to take away the reaction she was expecting. Most disrespect comes from a place of wanting to provoke a reaction, to get you emotional, to see what you're made of. By staying silent, you show that you're made of steel. And here's the best part: silence gives you time. Time to think, time to decide how you want to respond, time to make sure that if you do speak, your words carry weight. It's like a reset button in the conversation. Suddenly, she feels the energy shift. Suddenly, she starts wondering, did I go too far? That's when regret begins to creep in, not because you yelled, not because you lectured her, but because your calm presence made her confront her own actions. When you stop over-explaining and go silent, you're not just protecting your dignity, you're training others to treat you with respect without saying a single word. That's real strength, and it's the first step to making her think twice before disrespecting you again. The next silent move is one of the most difficult for most guys, but it's also one of the most life-changing. You have to pull back and focus on yourself. When someone disrespects you, the natural instinct is to lean in, to try harder, to win them back, to fix their perception of you. But that only reinforces the imbalance. You're showing them that their approval is your priority, and that makes you look weaker. The smarter move, the one that truly makes them regret how they treated you, is to quietly step back and redirect all that energy toward yourself. This isn't about ignoring her to punish her. It's not about playing childish games. It's about showing through your actions that your life doesn't revolve around her reaction. When you stop chasing and start focusing on your mission, something powerful happens. She notices. Women are incredibly intuitive, and they can sense when a man's energy shifts, when she sees you no longer over-investing in her, when she sees you putting your time and focus into your goals, your health, your business, your purpose. Suddenly, she starts feeling the gap. Instead of blowing up her phone or trying to prove your worth, you're in the gym, you're reading books, you're leveling up your career, you're spending time with people who bring value to your life. That quiet, consistent progress speaks louder than anything you could have said in an argument. It creates a contrast. Before, maybe you were available all the time. Maybe you dropped everything for her. Now your time feels valuable. Now your presence feels earned. And here's what happens when you focus on yourself. You naturally become more attractive. Your energy becomes magnetic. You walk differently, talk differently, and carry yourself with more confidence. You no longer feel like you need to chase validation because you've given yourself something much more powerful: self-respect. And that's exactly what women are drawn to. This also gives her space to reflect. When you're no longer there absorbing the disrespect, when you're not constantly reacting or trying to win her approval, she has room to feel the weight of her actions. That space often makes her realize what she's losing. She starts wondering why your energy shifted, why you're no longer engaging the way you used to, why you seem happier and more fulfilled without chasing her. That curiosity and regret, that's the silent reward for focusing on yourself first. Pulling back and focusing on yourself is one of the most masculine things you can do. It tells the world and her that your time is precious and your mission matters. And the more you do it, the less you tolerate disrespect, because you're too busy becoming the best version of yourself. One of the most powerful things you can do as a man is to set boundaries without even needing to say a word. You see, boundaries aren't about telling someone what they can or can't do. They're about teaching people how you expect to be treated. And here's the truth: if someone disrespects you and you keep showing up, keep giving them your time, keep rewarding their bad behavior with attention, then you've taught them it's okay. You've taught them that your respect is negotiable. The silent move here is to withdraw your attention the moment you see consistent disrespect. That's how you communicate that you value yourself. And you don't need to get angry. You don't need to give a long speech about why you're hurt. You simply stop engaging in the same way. You stop rewarding the behavior. That sends a message more powerful than words ever could. Women are naturally drawn to men who have standards. When you calmly pull back instead of trying to argue or force them to respect you, you create a space where they have to decide if they want to rise to the level of those standards or not. And here's the thing, if they care about you, if they value the connection, they will notice. They'll adjust. They'll reflect. Your quiet boundary forces them to decide if they want to be in your life on respectful terms. A lot of guys make the mistake of threatening boundaries or trying to control the other person. If you do this again, I'll leave. That's not strength. That's manipulation. Real strength is action. You don't warn, you don't threaten, you simply follow through. When you pull back your time, your energy, your emotional investment, you show her that your self-respect is non-negotiable. And that's when the regret sets in. Boundaries also protect your peace. They keep you from getting sucked into unnecessary drama or arguments that lead nowhere. They keep you from losing yourself while trying to please someone else. And as a man, that's crucial, because the more grounded and centered you are, the better your energy and the more attractive you become. When you set these unspoken boundaries, you also teach people how to value you in the future. They learn that disrespect comes at a cost, the cost of losing access to your time, your attention, your presence. That's how you train the world to treat you the way you deserve to be treated. At the end of the day, setting unspoken boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about making sure that the people who stay are the ones who truly respect and appreciate you. Another move that completely changes how people treat you is learning to stay calm when emotions are running high. Most men get triggered when they're disrespected. They raise their voice, get defensive, or say something they regret. But here's the thing, every time you let someone's words control your emotional state, you hand over your power. Emotional control is one of the most attractive and masculine traits you can develop, and it's a silent move that speaks louder than any comeback you could deliver. When a woman throws a test at you, maybe she's sarcastic, maybe she says something that feels disrespectful, she's really just checking to see if you can handle pressure. Can you stay grounded? Can you stay calm even when things feel tense? When you master emotional non-reaction, you show her that you are not easily shaken, and that changes everything. Picture this, she's upset, maybe even yelling, trying to provoke a reaction. Most guys would jump in, defend themselves, argue back. But instead, you breathe deeply, keep your tone calm, keep your body language relaxed, and maybe even smile a little. That's not weakness, that's strength. You're not giving her the emotional fireworks she expected, and suddenly the energy in the room shifts. Instead of escalating the drama, you de-escalate it without saying a word. This doesn't mean you tolerate bad behavior forever or pretend you're okay with it. It means you choose your timing, you wait until things calm down before addressing the issue logically, respectfully, and with confidence. When you stay composed in the heat of the moment, you earn respect because it shows maturity. It shows that you're in control of yourself, not a slave to the situation. Women find this incredibly attractive because it creates emotional safety. They know you won't spiral out of control when life gets messy. You become a rock in the storm, and that's what true leadership in a relationship looks like, being the steady presence that others can rely on. And here's the bonus, emotional non-reaction isn't just about women. It helps you everywhere, at work, with friends, with family. People respect the man who can keep his cool under pressure. They take you more seriously. They listen when you speak because your words are no longer coming from a place of emotional chaos. They're coming from a place of power. The moment you stop letting disrespect pull you out of character, you change the game. Instead of reacting, you respond. Instead of fighting, you lead. And that calm, collected energy often makes the other realize how small their drama really was. One of the most powerful things you can do after pulling back and setting boundaries is to quietly upgrade your entire life, socially, romantically, and personally. This is where a lot of guys go wrong. They sit around waiting for her to notice that they're upset, waiting for her to apologize, waiting for her to come back and treat them right. But waiting doesn't create respect. Waiting doesn't inspire regret. Growth does. When you start spending time with people who bring you joy, who push you forward, who add value to your life, everything changes. You build a stronger network, you create new opportunities, and you start feeling fulfilled with or without her approval. That's when you stop giving off the energy of a man who's desperate for her attention, and that's when she starts noticing you again. The beautiful thing about quietly upgrading your social life is that it doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't have to broadcast what you're doing or post every move online to get a reaction. You just live. You go out with friends. You meet new people. You try new things. You say yes to opportunities that expand your world. And when she sees you out there living a bigger life, leveling up, laughing, enjoying yourself, she feels the shift. She realizes she's not the center of your world anymore. This applies to your romantic life too. If you're single or she's pulling away, don't sit around waiting. Get back out there. Go on dates, meet women, flirt. Build connections. You don't have to rush into anything serious, but you do have to remind yourself that you have options. Options give you power. When you know you have choices, you naturally stop tolerating disrespect because you know you can walk away if someone doesn't treat you right. This isn't about revenge or making her jealous. It's about living in abundance. When you live like a man who has options, who is busy growing, who is surrounded by good energy, you become more magnetic without even trying. Women notice when a man is living with purpose and surrounded by positive energy, it makes them wonder what changed, and often that's when the regret kicks in. And here's the key, you're not upgrading your life to win her back. You're upgrading because you deserve a better life regardless of what she does. When your life gets bigger, When you feel happier, healthier, more fulfilled, you stop chasing validation because you already feel valuable. And that's the version of you that people respect. When you quietly work on becoming a man with a thriving life, you stop being the guy who begs for attention and start being the man whose attention is a privilege. At the end of the day, the most powerful response to disrespect isn't what you say, it's how you live. You can tell someone you deserve respect. You can explain why their behavior hurt you. You can ask them to change, but nothing is more impactful than simply showing them through your actions that you will no longer tolerate anything less than what you deserve. This is where a lot of men get stuck. They think they can talk someone into respecting them, that if they just find the right words, she'll suddenly see their value. But respect can't be begged for. Respect is earned by how you carry yourself, by the standards you set, and by the life you build. When you stop explaining and start acting, you flip the script. Instead of trying to convince her, you become undeniable. This means you double down on everything we've already talked about, your self-improvement, your boundaries, your emotional control, your social life. You let your growth do the talking. You show up better than before, stronger than before, more focused than before. You let her see with her own eyes that you're not stuck in the same place she left you. And that's when the regret really hits, because she realizes she disrespected a man who kept rising with or without her approval. When your actions reflect your worth, people feel it. They notice you carry yourself differently. They notice your confidence has grown, your energy has shifted, and your time has become more valuable. You don't even need to announce it. Your life becomes the announcement. And this is the point where a lot of women come back. Not because you begged, not because you guilted them, but because they see that you've leveled up and they don't want to be left behind. And if they don't come back, that's fine too. Because by letting your actions speak louder than words, you've already won. You've already built a life that feels good to live with or without their validation. You've already created an environment where respect is the standard, not the exception. That's the real victory, becoming the kind of man who commands respect without ever having to demand it. When you live this way, regret isn't something you have to force on anyone. It happens naturally, because people can't ignore the man you've become. And whether they choose to stay, leave, or come back, you've already made sure of one thing: you'll never settle for anything less than the respect and love you know you deserve.